For educational purpose only.
We're about to take it back.
Okay.
Yes, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the Talkin' Loud podcast, where we discuss everything dank, sticky, icky, gassy, and all of that good stuff. And today, I got a very special episode with an amazing guest. We actually got a pillar in the industry whose career spans 39 years. He's published so many books, not only books, but also DVDs and in many different languages. I actually remember back in the day, I read his indoor horticulture book and it helped me loads, as it did so many other growers. And when we talk about breaking the stigma, we speak of no one other than Mr. George Cervantes. How's it going, George? Or should I say Jorge? Which one is it, man?
Jorge, I'm here in Spain, so I normally I go by Jorge.
I
We're up here in Catalonia, could be Jordi. But yeah, hey, Matt, thank you for having me on your program. It's great. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. It's been 40 years, not 39 now.
Ooh, time has passed. Sounds fine when you're having fun, right? That's 4 decades, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a long time, man. So long. So much has changed over these years, And well, heck, back in the 70s, when I lived in Spain in the 70s, it was very illegal here. Seven years in a day, and you never knew when the last day was. Yeah. And it's there's been prohibition all over the world. Thank God that's lifting up above us. We don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah,
But it's
so
still there.
true. 100%. It's definitely still there. I know a lot of people that tune into this show are actually still living in, prohibition land and stuff like that. And so it's really important that, we continue to break that stigma and get that acceptance going, worldwide, not just nationwide here in the US, but worldwide. We want it to be all over Europe. We great things were going on with Thailand. We want that to happen everywhere, man. But thank you so much just for taking the time to come on and kick it with us. I really do appreciate that. It really is, it feels like a blessing to be able to take the time to kick it with you. But what I like to do to just break the ice sort of is ask everyone how things are going where they're chilling at. And I heard you mentioned you're actually chilling out in Spain, out in the European Union right now.
Yeah. Actually, I've been in Spain for years and years. Yeah, we had a house in America for some years, but we just moved over here full time. Yeah, I've been here, gosh, maybe about 20 years really,
Wow.
and lived here in the 70s as well. I went to university here. So I've got a long history here and I've got tons of friends and everything. And it's been real interesting here. Like America's ahead of Spain or the EU, excuse me, as far as legalization goes.
Yeah.
But it's a real good life here. I like it real well.
Yeah, for sure, man. I can definitely imagine that. I think I was mentioning to you off air, that I lived out in the UK for a while, and I got homies that live out in the UK now. And when I'm trying to talk to them, it's a massive time difference. So here where I'm at in Colorado, it's actually like 7 or 8 hours behind where you're at in Spain, right? So it's afternoon by you, and I just woke up here in the morning.
Yeah, well, actually, the sun just set right now. I'm looking. I'm at the beach right now. I'm looking over the Mediterranean, and the sunset was pretty nice. There's a bit of a storm coming in, but it's the colors were pretty good.
That's awesome,
There's
man.
still some
That's
more coming.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Guys, smash the like button for that because we got a very special guest with us today. We're going to break down a lot of stuff. And what I really want to do is, just sort of dig into some of the stuff that you did to lay the foundations for growers like us, all the home growers now that are able to, happily grow their plants at home without the fear of being demonized. And, no more of the reefer madness, no more of the crazy stuff that, that did happen a lot back in the day. It's really just a beautiful thing. So just to get things started off, man, I'm pretty curious. What sort of like made you, decide to move from the US to over in Spain? How has that cannabis experience been out in the EU?
It's been real good here. Actually, I moved outside. I'd been coming to Europe for many, many years, and it was, gosh, in mid late 90s. I moved up to BC,
Yeah.
and I was there for about a year and a half, and then I moved to Amsterdam. Everything was just like in the thick of things when I was there in Vancouver, BC, and then I moved to Amsterdam, to the Netherlands,
Yeah.
and it was a whole other trip there. I mean, tons of stuff going on. That's when the seed business had just really taken off. It was like it'd been going for a long time, but that's when it like really skyrocketed.
Shut up.
And the cannabis cup had gotten to be real popular there at High Times and stuff. I'd been writing for High Times for years, and yeah, and Neville was still around. It was like right at the last years before Neville had to leave, and uh, anyway, all these guys from Spain kept showing up at the Cannabis Cup.
Wow.
And I already talk Spanish, so I was like, guys, what's going on? They go, oh yeah, everything's just starting here. They were all buying seeds, and so they just started a magazine, Cánimo magazine, in Barcelona, and then there was another one, Yerba, and then there was another one, Ajo Blanco, and then another one, Coloyo. What else? And then Soft Secrets too. Uh, yeah. There's quite a few of them,
Wow.
and yeah, so I got to watch that movement like take off here in Spain from all the way from the beginning, because that's what I'd been doing for some years. That's what happened in Canada, and same with Netherlands, both places.
Yeah.
I mean, Marijuana Benin, the Dutch book is Hollandaise, Dutch. That book that was the first, the first complete cannabis book published in Dutch. Yeah, that was 1988. Yeah.
Wow, and you've been around for like, just fighting for the cause, just for such a long time, guys. And guys, if you don't know about this guy, definitely check out Mr. Cervantes' website. He's got a lot of stuff on there. He got a lot of great stuff, great information. Like it says right here, he's a world-renowned expert indoor and outdoor greenhouse cannabis cultivation gardener. He knows so much, and there's a lot to share when it comes to it, man. And on his website, there actually a great section on him, which breaks down, all the books. Has got this fantastic timeline, and the first book, it says, was published here in 1983, and it goes straight up to 2022, where we got it in PDF online. So we're moving with the times, and that is super important and super great. And before we actually dig into some of those things, I want to find out a little bit more about you, yourself, and just you as a person. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like what sort of pulled you into the whole medicinal plant scene? What was the first time that you smoked? What just tell us a little bit about some of those sort of stuff.
Oh boy, that goes. I just was looking at that. I was looking at that today. 1970. I think that was the first year I smoked. 1970.
Wow.
Yeah, and we smoked all this. Oh gosh, an ounce. Four of us smoked an ounce of Mexican dirtweed. Yeah, half of it was seeds and stems, and I mean
That's
we
what we
got.
call that brickweed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you could call it brickweed, I guess. Yeah, that's what you get over there. Yeah. but we used to call it Mexican dirt weed because it smelled like dirt, and it was good. Yeah, I've been there, like making it. It's get those adobe presses, where you
Yeah.
make the adobe bricks. You just stuff everything in there and then jump on it. And that's it.
I love that, man. That is so great.
Yeah.
That goes to show, man. Like back in the day, there was probably not as much premium flour around as there is nowadays, right? Because
No, 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 no,
back then
no.
it was really underground. Things were super underground, so much to the point where you were constantly ducking and bobbing and weaving from the authorities. You got to do everything in secret. It was a really really gray area. A lot of people call that the traditional market.
Oh man, no, no. People didn't know males from females, dude. I
Wow.
mean, that's a fact. I mean, it's true. They did not know the difference. And what would make constitute a sinsemilla and why it was sinsemilla. People knew nothing about genetics and stuff. That was dealt with by a few people in a few places.
Yeah.
That's it. There's just a few strongholds, and then later Neville basically he put all of that together in one place in the Netherlands and at the cannabis castle over there in Nijmegen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
man. That is
yeah, it
amazing.
was very rudimentary. There was two kinds of dope: good dope and bad dope, and then no
Good
dope.
stuff and bad stuff.
That's it. There was no in between.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, nobody knew how to grow it. It was all imported. Yeah, at first it started coming from Mexico, then later, and then Vietnam too. When especially right when it was over, that's when the most came. But yeah, it came from Vietnam, and we had Thai sticks. Uh, yeah, Thai sticks back then. Those were really quite good. There were opiated ones as well, all kinds of, yeah, but it was all imported, occasionally
Important.
hash, but on the West Coast we didn't get much, West Coast of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, and then like I said, later came Colombian, and then after a while people started learning about growing it. Hawaiian was big for the longest time.
Ooh, wow, man. That actually sounds pretty similar to my experience, back in the Caribbean. You can get some of that sensimilla, and sensimilla is actually a word that we say a lot back in the Caribbean. A lot of flour is referred to as that high grade flour. You want that
Yeah,
high grade, and that's pretty much what sensimilla means, right?
yeah, it means, well, no seeds,
No
literally
seeds.
no seeds.
Got you.
In Spanish. And it's funny because I was in university in Mexico in 75 and 76. Yeah. And so what I found was we had Sinsemilla back then, in the like, well, that those in the 70s, but the Mexicans never shipped it out of the country. They kept it, man. I mean, they had the best dope. And yeah, that's boy, I learned a lot there. It was great. It was really nice. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, no, we're keeping that stuff for ourselves. Good stuff, we want to hold on to that.
Oh yeah. But we had some really, really, really excellent cannabis there. It was good. It was good. Yeah.
That's
No
super
worries.
proper. That's amazing, man. And it actually gets me wondering, like having been exposed to it, from such a long time. When did you actually decide, okay, I'm going to try my hand and grow my first plant? How was that like?
When I got out of school, out of university, I went. I moved to Santa Barbara and started growing in the San Ynez Mountains behind Santa Barbara, and that was 78, 70. Yeah, well, I just right as soon as I got out of school, I started growing because it just seemed like a good idea. And there wasn't not much information. And actually, it's really cool because the first cultivation book I read was by Bill Drake, the Cultivator's Handbook. Yeah, the Cannabis Cultivator's Handbook, and that was yeah. And I met him. I started corresponding with him. I picked up his I don't know, somebody knew him and I got a hold of him. We spoke on the phone a few times. But I got to meet him last summer when I was in the United States. Yeah, and he lives in Portland, Oregon now. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, you actually lived out in Oregon yourself, right? I think that's where I read that you were trying to like get your first book published and stuff like that. Or
Yeah,
am I
yeah.
mistaken?
Actually, I grew up. It's interesting because I went back to my 50-year class reunion this year, or last year it was, and
I
it's
gotta
a
ask, man. Just
very
sorry to cut across you, man. But when you went back to that 50-year union, man, did you pull up with like a big joint? You got a bag of flour, and you're like, I told you guys I was gonna make it.
no. Actually, I didn't really need to. I'd done that. I'd been to another reunion. It's no fun to do that unless it's illegal. Uh,
I love that,
that
man.
way you get everybody's attention pretty fast.
Look what I got.
Yeah, but the fun part was uh, it's Oregon's a legal state, but it's real conservative. It's my hometown is right next to Idaho, and
Okay, yeah,
Idaho is very conservative, right?
yeah.
So rednecks, yeah. Anyway, so my town is Ontario is real conservative. Uh, so these guys bought the old police station, state police station, where I spent way too much time, and they made a dispensary out of it. Yeah, and I got to have appear at the dispensary, and it was great. It
A
was great to
dispo?
get back to my
They made
hometown.
a dispo out of
Police
the police
station.
station?
Yeah, yeah. And oh yeah, I got to go around and visit several growers there. And there's also I met Dr. Clinton Shock, who's uh, who's a breeder with the Oregon State University, and he's in charge. Well, Professor Emeritus, but he knows more about breeding than probably anybody in the Northwest for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he lives there as well, and I got to hang out with him for the day, and that was pretty darn cool, I'll have to say. So it's like really great to see this my hometown because I got a lot of friends who went to jail
Yeah.
and friends from my hometown,
Wow.
and so to see this big change, it's heartwarming.
Yeah, for sure, man. And that is what I think it's all about, really getting in there, getting that acceptance, going and just breaking that stigma. I think that that's super important, man. And for someone like yourself, dude, who, who's been doing this for such a long time, advocating for the plant, you're a real advocate and in the only good ways, how did it feel? Because like a lot of people nowadays turn to tech, when it comes to learning how to grow, looking for tips or tricks. A lot of people hit up YouTube when they're trying to grow their first plant. They did not have access to any YouTube or internet or anything like that back in the day when you first started off. So how was it when you were actually growing and you're learning about it back in the day when, everything was a black market and there was very little learning on it?
Oh man, it's spooky. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of hidden information.
Yeah.
Uh, People that learn something usually don't share it with other people. That really bothers me a lot when you don't share the information. If you know something, you can help somebody
Yeah.
be better. Go ahead and share it.
I'm so
But
happy you said that.
that just didn't happen because what would happen is there'd be growers here, but they wouldn't connect. The
Yeah.
dots wouldn't connect. That's the part that was the illegal part. You couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Um, so and my God, I travel all over, well, not all over, but pretty much, yeah, most of the United States, and there was growers everywhere, and there's cannabis. I mean, it was everywhere.
Inescapable.
Yeah, and you go, and this is in the 70s, and I'm going, geez, this is going on everywhere. And then by the 80s, there's more. And then, gosh, the 80s was full. I mean, that's when it took off until, well, the end of the 80s. That's when, oh, well, that's when the Soviet Union fell, really.
Yeah.
And what happened then was they needed a new enemy, so they chose all of the helpless people, the drug addicts, as they called them, and turned the war machine against us.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of slowed things down.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see why that would happen, like why that would slow things down a whole lot. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. But yeah, it was tough because they had the RICO laws, the racketeering laws that they used to well, break up the mafia as much as they could in the United States, and also the Hells Angels and other bike groups,
Yeah.
or gangs, and or organized groups like that. And what happens is they use that against us on conspiracy laws.
Yeah,
So that
it's
that
crazy.
that was still difficult for a long time, but that doesn't appear to be happening anymore.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that, But I would say one thing, like I've studied law, I'm a lawyer, and I would say that a lot of the times when people put laws into place, they try to combat one thing, but there's unintended consequences that usually affect other classes of people, and it seems like that's something that has happened here because when we look into the future, granted, foresight and hindsight is an awesome thing, but now we're in 2023 and there's a growing acceptance of the plan. You mentioned you had a lot of friends that got locked up. Now a lot of people are actually getting released just after, just having time to think about it, research it more, understand it more, and realize it's not something as bad as we made it out to be. It's actually just a plant. It's not really a drug. It's not made in a lab with any pharmaceuticals or anything like that. It grows in the dirt. You can have it outside, just growing in the forest, and it'll grow. It's a plant. It just grows like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's receptors in our body. We manufacture cannabinoids,
Yeah.
and a lot of they suppressed a lot of information and stuff.
Yeah.
But all of that's politics. It was all about control. What we should be really most concerned with, though, is making sure it's as legal as possible and everybody has access now.
Yeah.
Because man, those old times. I mean, it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
you
And I,
know,
I wasn't even around at that time, in the straight up prohibition. I started growing when I was able to legally. But for a lot of people who were in that, because I know a lot of people who are tuned in right now, like I said, they still grow in prohibition land. But how is it for you when you started off and you were growing underground? Some people never, ever, ever experienced guerrilla growing, anything like
oh
that. Some
man,
people don't even know what it is. So just talk to us a little bit about that.
it's scary as hell. Um,
It's scary AF, guys.
I grew for a couple of years up in San Isidro Canyon, behind Santa Barbara,
Okay.
Montecito, actually. And yeah, they just evacuated that area, Montecito. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah, I had a pump. I had to carry a pump up there. I pumped water up from the creek. Everything had to be hidden under the trees because, see, they'd fly those canyons and look for forest fires.
Okay.
There's all kinds of surveillance, especially there around. Well, this was a couple of miles away from civilization,
Yeah.
so it wasn't too far, but it was close enough. It was close enough that that everything was under surveillance. There's places you can grow that there's no problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first time. One time they had lost, there was a lost person, and they thought it was me. And I was coming down with a load of cannabis, material. And that would be pretty incriminating. And I remember I had to get rid of it and or hide it. I came back later. but the helicopter sat on me. I had to hide for, oh man, it seemed like forever. I think it was about 8 or 9 minutes. That was a long time.
Jesus,
Uh,
bro, what?
yeah. No, that was a long time. Yeah, yeah, it was scary. But it wasn't about that. It was about finding a missing person. I thought, okay, these guys, they're not giving up because the helicopter wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I just walked down. I saw the other guys, and then I I thought, okay, this is it. I'm not talking. That's anyway. I was wrong. So that was fortunate. That was just
That's
close call the first time,
it's still
and then
scary
after
though.
that there was a lot of them. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Um, oh man. And then back then, see, that's when Northern California started, and that's when Humboldt County started, and people were moving to the hills, back to
Yeah.
the Earth movement. Yeah, and
That's wow.
everybody was growing up in Humboldt, so it was a great time.
Man, that sounds epic. That sounds like some movie shit straight up. Like I honestly would be shitting myself if I was coming down with my material from the hills after, just checking up on my stuff and a friggin' helicopter pulls up over me and it's just lingering there for like 10 minutes. I'm like lying down on the floor trying to hide under this tree.
Oh,
That sounds epically crazy.
well, yeah, I mean, but it happened. A lot of things happen to a lot of people. I'm just one of many.
Yeah.
One of many. Yeah, I just happen to write about everything, and all of those pictures. Though I taken years of pictures too of all kinds of stuff, but I torched them all
Wow.
during to, because they were evidence.
Yeah. You gotta burn the evidence. Burn it all. Get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? It's well, I didn't go to jail. That's all I need. That's what makes the difference.
That's the most
So
important part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I say, a lot of people have suffered tons and tons, and needlessly,
Yeah.
needlessly. But as far as developing, cannabis and developing and stuff, much of it came from Mexico. A lot of seeds came from Mexico. Well, all of that had seeds in it. And same with Colombia, same from Thailand. And then, too, people were traveling everywhere and bringing stuff back
Yeah.
from all over the world. Nepal, India, Morocco. Let's say Morocco. Morocco, Lebanon, not so much there, but Africa too. Africa and other parts of. But the thing is, later, what happened? Like I was down in, I spent some time in Colombia a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just recently, like 4 years ago, right? But so what's happened there? I was over in one place I know. I was there yeah, I was there for a week. I looked at gardens every day, all day long, and acreage,
Wow.
and yeah, and it was interesting because there was only a few different varieties. There was four common ones and about 6 or 8 other ones, and most of them were propagated by cuttings, and they didn't go back to seed that often. And it really doesn't freeze there where I was at. It was south of Cali on the west coast side,
Yeah.
Cali, and it was El Valle de Cauca, which
Okay.
is south, several hours south up in the mountains. There, that's where
Yeah.
the
Fuck.
it's on the Indian reservation, the NASA. It's actually NASA, a confederation of tribes. But what happens is they will mix the varieties from before, the indigenous ones or the landrace they call them, and then the new ones, and they would come up, and it tastes to me like everything was about 12%, 10 to 12% THC. It didn't appear to be a lot more, maybe 14, but not real strong. But it had this kind of like equilibrium, and it wouldn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's bad about the gene pool, because with this plant, it spread everywhere. It spread all over the world,
Yeah.
and there's not there's not tons of variation now. There's some, but I think we need to work on that a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually, and being able to see it, from that transition phase, you can actually see a lot of the differences. You can know, okay, this is how it started. This is what I thought of it when it first started off. I'm actually able to see some of the transitions, and now this is actually where we're at right now. And I can see that you've actually, wrapped your brain around it in such a way that, you're able to pinpoint that, okay, we can make improvements in these areas. We can make improvements in these areas. And it's all about, making things, better for everyone, not just for, the growers or the smokers, but for everyone.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. But to talk more specifically about genetics, we're learning I mean, now see, this plant, like, if you look at corn or wheat, two really big commercial crops that have had a lot of breeding done with them, and they're a lot bigger, stronger, and produce more, blah blah blah, pest and disease resistant. Well, that needs to be done with cannabis too. But the deal is, right now it's kind of like a special time in history, because all of the technology to do this is really inexpensive.
Yeah.
It's never been so cheap as it is right now.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, it was like 10 times more expensive.
Mad.
Same stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's possible. And also, we're learning it's a plant that lends itself to transformation really quick. You can have several crops in one year, and that's rather unique for most annual crops. It's hard to have several crops in one year, but with this one you can, and it's got a male and a female plant.
Yeah.
So that gives it even more diversity for and control for breeding. So things can be sped up pretty fast, because they're finding out what genes control different processes and traits, which is incredibly important. Like a trait like growing tall, or short internodal length.
Yeah.
There's physical things that do it, but being able to do that with the seed gives you a really big advantage.
Hell yeah. That's a fantastic point, man. Like, a lot of people try to manipulate it. Like, sometimes people will turn down the brightness on their lights to get that longer internodal stacking, just so that it's not super tight. But if you can dial that in through the traits, which we're learning so much more about now, and as you said, just to do the same thing now would have cost a lot more back in the day, simply because everything was on that gray market. Everything is being done undercover, underground, and that just makes a whole lot of difference when it comes to the actual research side of things. Now that you can do things out in the open, like, you can learn more about it more freely, and you can actually create like a friggin' database and store all your information on there without fear of being prosecuted by the DEA.
That's correct. That's correct. And a lot of people, there's several entities doing that now, and it's a good double-edged sword. I mean, the information needs to be processed and done, but they're going to capitalize on it, but they're doing the work. But okay, case in point about inexpensive technology, and this is relative, and this was 10 years ago, or even maybe a little longer, when what was it? Canatonic, the first big CBD one, and then there was Sour Tsunami, that was the other one. Those two were the big CBD varieties, but Canatonic was like huge. And it's funny because everybody was saying, once they get something, they go, okay, this is it. This is the Holy Grail. There's only one of these that exists in the whole world, and I have it. It always happens like that. Okay, so then what happens is, I remember my friend Samantha at Pure Analytics in Santa Rosa, California, started testing, more specifically for the CBD gene, or CBD dominance in the pairs of genes, the alleles, and she found an incidence of, even after they'd been trying to breed it out for years and years and years, an incidence of 1 out of every 500 plants that she tested that were heavy THC had CBD dominance in their genetic structure. Yeah. So all that stuff's there. Yeah. And see, that wouldn't have been found unless all that testing was really cheap. She could make 500 tests, or these other guys paid for it, but before that was like impossible.
Wow.
When it was legal, the DEA, they were the only ones making tests, and they were just telling you how strong your dope was, and that was it.
Yeah. And when the DEA was doing this testing, was it like they were just telling you how strong it was so that they can lock you up, or like was it for some other? Just making sure, just clarifying.
Forensic science. Forensic data.
That's that scary science.
Yeah. That's exactly right. To lock you up.
Lock your ass up, man. 100%, man. Well, guys, definitely smash the like button because this is super, super fantastic. We're having a great chat, and this is only part 1. So definitely stay tuned in for part 2. We're going to take a quick 5-second break, and we're going to get into part 2. But for those who may be watching it afterwards, definitely smash that like because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to touch into, and it's going to be friggin' awesome. Yes, guys. So part 2 is here, and we got a banger plan because I want to start things off by asking you, George, about this little getup, man. This disguise, this person who does not look like you at all. Who is this guy? Like, how did he come about? This snazzy looking dreadlocks, the beard. I love it.
Well, I had to say, things used to be really illegal, and I made a few videos with High Times. Jorge Cervantes ultimate DVD grow videos.
Yeah.
And actually this first one, that's when I was living up in BC in Vancouver. And they I had to have a disguise because, see, you could cross the border and stuff then, and it was a lot easier because there was no internet and they couldn't run your name, or they could run your name, but you knew what they were going to find.
Yeah.
Now you do not have a good idea. You cannot have your lawyer check on what they're going to find. So, there's no way to control the information at all. But back then you could do that. And as long as, you have one face here and then another face in public, nobody could put the two together. It was difficult. Much more difficult.
I like
that. The disguise worked really well because I crossed a lot of borders. I would go to the United States. I would go to Europe quite a bit, and so I called it the Che Marley.
Legend, man. I love it, man. Shout out to Che Marley because Che Marley's been doing some great stuff for the community, man. And at first, when I first saw that, I was like, who is this dude? And then I was like, oh, wait, I see what he's done here. I like that, man. But that's literally, just having to navigate through that gray market, that gray area, especially when you were doing things, and laying the foundations for us to do things nowadays. And I just want to touch a little bit as well, because back then there were a lot of difficulties. As you mentioned, you had some friends that even got locked up, and having friends that get locked up and stuff for flowers, for medicinal plants. It really is a heartbreaking thing, man, honestly. And there was a time around, I think it was 1989, right? There was Operation Green Merchant.
Yeah.
That was set up by the DEA and local law enforcement agencies and stuff like that. And they sent a ton of your friends, to prison. So tell us a little bit about that, and the whole war on drugs thing.
Oh man, that was rough because they raided hydro stores or grow stores.
Hydro stores, they're raiding.
in
Really? Really?
Yeah, in 46 states, and they did like a simultaneous thing.
Wow, 46 states.
Yeah, it was really horrid. And they put about 120 people in jail.
Jesus.
Yeah, a bunch of people. A lot of my friends served hard time. Yeah, and I remember Tom Alexander, who also had Seen to Me a Tips magazine. That was a magazine that lasted about 10 years, and then it went out of business after that because all of the advertisers quit. Nobody had any money. Everybody was in jail.
That's mad.
All their stuff was gone. The
That's
DEA
so
had it.
crazy.
But yeah, I remember him. Oh man, the other kids would tease his kids at school. They teased these kids for a couple of years. And
Sad.
that kind of stuff. One thing to go against you, but your kids get it, and that's
Yeah.
not fair. Other people I know, they took their children. They took their children away from us. Said they were unfit parents.
Wow. Yeah.
That's very difficult. Very difficult.
Jesus.
That was
Wow.
that was worse than going to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are hard things. Those are hard things.
Wow.
But yeah, that scared the hell out of everybody, though. I'll tell you. But I didn't do anything. I like basically went. I didn't do anything in the cannabis world for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I started publishing straight
Yeah.
garden books.
Yeah.
Yeah, how to grow indoors.
We gotta be growing those tomatoes and we being smart about it. I love that, man.
That's what I did. Yeah. But I mean, you just keep going.
Yeah, you got to be smart as well, right? And they say that a lot of the times when people are successful, it's because they pivoted. They found out what was not working at that point in time. They pivoted to something that did, and then when things are able to settle, or if they were able to pivot again, that's actually how you find that formula for success, right?
Well, you gotta stay with it. If you don't
Yeah.
change, it just won't work. Other people are smart and they're competitive. It's a competitive world.
Yeah.
It's hard to see things ahead of time and really believe in yourself when nobody else does, or just
Yeah.
a few people do. And yeah, because I mean, because my parents, everybody felt my whole family felt sorry for me, thought something was wrong with me, but they didn't know about 90% of what I was doing either.
Yeah.
So that was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they don't know the whole story, because like I sort of face similar feelings at times, when people sort of make these assumptions but they just don't know the whole story, why you're doing something that you're doing. And it's more than, I'm not just out here smoking weed, like I'm not just kicking it in Colorado getting high. It's actually, a little bit more than that, and I think that's what some people don't see when they just don't see that full picture.
No, they don't, or they put themselves in your shoes and think, what would they do in your shoes? And well, they don't live your life. They can live their own life and worry about their own things, not yours.
Yeah, 100%, man. And man, props to you because like you've been doing this for such a long time, man. And I keep using the word laying the foundations because that's exactly what you did, man. And that story about the DEA, busting all those hydroponic stores across the US, that
Yeah,
is friggin' crazy. I actually did read about that. It was like owners, employees, even some of those stores were clients that actually advertise in High Times and other
right,
magazines. So
right.
it's almost like the DEA went through these High Times magazines, saw everyone that was advertising in it, and said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm going to hit all of them. We're going to raid them
Yes,
all."
actually, that's exactly what happened. If you advertised in High Times, that's exactly who they targeted.
Jesus.
Is once the way law enforcement works, they target somebody, they build a case on them, and then they go after them,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
so
they
true.
coordinated the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's like a huge sting.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is. It sure is. But it was big news, and but it really crippled everybody. It crippled the industry. But then we all joined the hydroponic association.
They can't keep
Yeah,
us down.
and took that over. Yeah, and that worked. That worked pretty well for a while, and then but everybody just kept with it. But people changed over the years. I've seen so many people come and go. I mean, good friends that were in this for 25 years now, they're retired.
Yeah,
A lot of friends like that, yeah,
yeah.
lots
Wow.
of them. I'm one of the few ones that has stayed in it. I don't know as anybody else. Everybody else is gone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sometimes I wonder maybe, well, I don't know. There's enough to do. I'm staying busy. This is fun.
Yeah, I like that, man. And that's the beautiful thing of it, man. Once you keep persevering, man, I think that you're a testament to that. Once you keep persevering, you're able to, see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I actually also read that, I think it was around 2010, you sort of, came out of the closet, so to speak. You
Yeah,
sort of let everyone know what was up, what was really going on. And I think that that was actually on a national public radio segment, right? So tell us a
right.
little bit about that, dude.
Right. Yeah, that was on NPR. That's funny to come out of the closet, on the radio. But but the thing is, see, I'd been living in Spain for some time, and they just don't have those conspiracy laws like that.
Yeah.
They don't exist. So I knew what freedom was, and even though cannabis was legal in a few states, it's not the same. It's not the same to show your face. But by then, other people had been showing their face, and we that was the year we bought the house. That's right. So I came back. We came to America that year.
Okay.
It was 2010, and I looked around and there was other people there, and I figured, okay, well, um, and I got a a medical permit. So I started growing and making videos in the backyard. That's right. That's
Dope.
right. That was right, right, right. Yeah.
Your mind is
Videos
sharp. You
pretty
remember
well.
these stuff like it was just yesterday, dude. I gotta say.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Once you go back there in your mind, it's pretty easy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I knew what freedom was, and I just didn't want to hide anymore. So that's when I started doing the videos and showing my face. Yeah, because I figured, well, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's the time. I didn't slow down, and I was one of the very few people to show their face. There was other videos, but most people had their hands and other stuff. But I show the mug, and that was also other people followed suit, because I mean there's still other people ahead of me and that were doing it at the same time. I give them full credit as well, but I know from me being on that it inspired more people to do it. Now you see people all the time. It's great. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, it is so true, most definitely. And like even myself, when I started off my YouTube channel, I was super scared to show my face. I just like you said, I just showed my hands. I even
Yep.
sped up my voice so that people could not tell it was me. You know, and people hated that. They were like, "Who's this squeaky voice dude? Like, why is he sounding like this? If I hear a computer voice, I'm logging off." But I got to protect myself, you know, especially being a lawyer coming from the Caribbean. It's a super small island. Everyone knows everyone and what
Yep.
they're doing. So
Yep.
I just erred on the side of caution, man.
Much better to err on the side of caution. If you're in jail, you're not in business. You can't do anything. You
You
can't
can't do
affect.
anything, man. And most definitely. And I actually add on one onto that. I actually had the bad experience of, you know, just being in a cell for, you know, a short period of time, you know, not like months or years or anything, but that sort of made me realize like the just losing your freedom. There's the
Yeah.
ability to not have your freedom,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
be somewhere where you can't do what you want to do is
Yeah.
completely crazy to me and not something that I ever want to experience again, man. Ever.
It's no fun. I've never had a good time.
Not at all, man. But one thing I also did want to touch on, man. So guys, definitely smash the like button. Jorge's got a lot of information. Also on his YouTube channel, he's got over 234,000 subscribers on YouTube. He drops a lot of great videos, and these videos date back like, you know, 10, 12 years and stuff. So it's a lot of solid and reliable information on there. Definitely check that out, guys.
Yeah, I've been doing those videos for a long time. It may go
Yeah.
back longer. I'd have to check. Yeah, and then too, also there's this live button too. That's got more videos. I've done
Yeah.
some interviews and stuff. The recent ones I've done are one of them with Northern Scrogger. That
Yep.
was really quite good. And I've been with Dr. Gary Yates and my good friend Stefan Meyer. These two guys are uh, my co-authors now, and they're both brilliant, young guys. Young guys, they're
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
And we were with Trilogene as well. Um, Good stuff, good stuff. And there was some Oh yeah, there's some Colombian ones. That was with Mike Bifari. Yeah, yeah.
You know it, man. You know it. And I definitely saw a lot of these videos. I've been following you for quite some time, like I said. And I actually saw the interview that you did with Northern Scrogger as well. That was a great interview. So, guys, check that out. Northern Scrogger was actually a guest on our channel as well. So, we're all about bringing that information and sharing it with you guys, man. So, that's one thing I definitely will suggest to you guys. Check out their YouTube channel. They got a lot of information on there. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell, and you can say that the ICANN fam sent you over there, man. Just show some love. Now,
Cool.
yeah, 100%. Now,
Cool.
Jorge, it was not all easy flowing for you, you know, especially when you first got started, man. You published tons of books, tons of DVDs, tons of videos and stuff like that. But when you first started off, man, no one would actually publish your first book, man. Like you faced so many difficulties with that. The indoor marijuana horticulture book, you actually wrote it on a K Pro computer yourself, right? With two
Right.
64-inch 64K floppy disk. Like a lot of people don't
Right.
even know what a
Right.
floppy disk is. Like nowadays, people will not know what that is. Like if you
It's
know what a
like a piece of paper like this,
super thin, it's like
and
almost like a
five and a
cassette.
quarter inches, about I don't know.
Yeah, I've used a lot of floppy when I was in secondary school, man. That's actually what we took our work to school to use it on computers with. You had to store it
Oh
on a
wow.
floppy disk, you pop it into the computer, and it's a big, huge brick-like desktop computer. So
Yes.
yeah.
And it go clunk, 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 and the LED light blinks when it
Yeah, dude.
reads. Yeah, gosh, yeah,
But
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that, man, because like you would have
Um,
done a lot of that yourself, you know, having to do all this yourself, but not only do it yourself, but face the difficulties of no one wanting to publish your book, no one wanting to take it on
yeah,
board and work with you. So what was that like?
yeah. Actually, it was pretty tough. What I did is I took the K Pro computer, and there was no everything was dot matrix printer. There was no laser printer back then. So I
Throwback.
had to take it to a service agency to have it photographed. I had to learn all of these codes and everything. photograph it and make it into like justified type, like you'd see in the newspaper, like
Yeah.
that, or headlines, and you'd have to define each one.
Yeah.
And then I took that and put wax on the back of it, those galley texts, and then slapped those on pages,
I
and
got you.
then made artwork. Black and white is all I could do for that,
Yeah.
and laid it out and myself, and it was then after that I printed it. I rented time on a multi-list 1250 press
Yeah.
uh, to print it. I rented that in the from this guy I knew at the Instant Print plant or store,
Yeah.
and I would go in the evening after hours and print
Yeah.
for hours.
Yeah. That's Big Al, right? I read
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, Big Al, exactly,
Shout out
Big
to
Al.
Big Al, man.
He's you know he didn't smoke, anything, right? He smoked tobacco, but he didn't smoke our favorite plant. So I gave him 2 joints afterwards, right? That's what he wanted, and I didn't think anything about it. So I left and took some books home, came back, and when I came back, he was laying on the floor, face down, laughing, looking at the at the wheel on the little hand truck,
Yeah.
and he'd been there for about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. And he said he was paralyzed. I said, ow, doc. He was a bit hyperactive. I think it really helped him to like settle down a little bit.
To calm the hell down a bit.
It appeared to be like catatonic, or catatonic, not canatonic, catatonic. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, then I took that book and went out on the road, filled my car up, and went around to all the head shops and grocery stores in the Northwest, most to sell them. But most of the grocery stores didn't want them because they were afraid of the RICO laws that
Yeah.
happened, 7 years later. And then what else? And then the head shops. Uh, I sold enough of them there. Actually, I sold 6,000 of them the
Wow.
first year, which was unbelievable.
That's
Yeah,
legendary.
it was a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations on that.
yeah, and then I had enough money to get the next one printed, which had a spine on it and stuff.
Yeah, but that goes to show, man. You had the dream, you had the vision,
Yeah.
you executed it, and even though it was in the face of adversity, you friggin' made it happen, man. Like you had to hit a big out, find a homie who has a store, who had a printing press that you can use after hours. Like I'm not talking you go in there during normal business hours. You got to print your kind of book after hours and do it all yourself. You had tons of pictures that you took. You had to
Yeah.
get those done up in black and white. Stick it together and really make the book yourself, man, and to then go on and sell 6,000 plus copies and use that to go on to the next one and the next one. I think that it's fantastic.
Seriously, yeah. Well, the hard part was getting enough pictures, because I could take pictures in my own room,
Yeah.
but I wanted to take pictures in other places because it was really important to show different things. Yeah, there's the first book there. And so talking people into let me take pictures in their room was really hard because everybody thought I was a narc.
Yeah, I can imagine that people will be very skeptical. They don't
Very,
want anyone to come to see their place and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Wow.
was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, that the book did. I can't believe that it did real well. There was a need. See, that's the thing. There was a need,
Yeah.
and then it grew from there a lot.
Yeah,
A
and then we
lot.
moved on to like the second one. And one thing I noticed with a few of these books is the beautiful print on the cover of the book. It's actually a glass bulb and the flowers on the inside. And as you scroll down and you notice like there are different variations to it. Tell us a little bit about where the
Oh,
inspiration
that's
came
the
for
Dutch
that.
one. That's the first one. That one back there is the Dutch one. Here, this one. One more up. Should be there. That's
Got
it.
you.
Wat ik one and binnen. Yeah, that's the first one. That was the
1988.
big first foreign language I went into. Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it goes on and on. The other book just above that, I did a whole series of straight books because the garden stores wouldn't take the marijuana book.
Yeah,
So I did all of the straight garden books. And
yeah,
they were just basically a clone of the other book, except I changed actually quite a bit, so it would pass.
yeah.
But yeah, so I had two parallel markets going there, which was really important at the time because it really served a purpose
Yeah, I
for
can see that.
what was necessary.
For sure, man. And like a lot of people think that, like when you get into, writing and, publishing books and stuff, it's super easy. But you actually show that it's not that easy, especially when you got started in, prohibition land. Now, moving forward just a bit, there was still a ban on a lot of these cannabis books, right? So when you guys were moving books into Australia for several years, they
Yeah,
actually started to, red-line some of those boxes, change stuff
yeah,
around, and started to pretty much search the contents of those books and those boxes, and anything that was submersive, anything that was cannabis, pretty much they will just destroy it, right? So you guys
that's
started to
correct.
have to get like pretty smart on how you do things. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, okay, first, Canada was the first one. They were really rough.
Okay.
I would send them up about every 6 months. I'd make another run,
Yeah.
try to get books in, and couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. They just beat them up. I don't know, maybe out of 10 years, I got, I don't know, 150 books through,
Wow.
and I sent 1,000.
Wow.
I mean, didn't have to do it or anything. But anyway, I got some through.
Yeah.
But yeah, they beat them up. Nobody would take credit for it and stuff. In fact, they wouldn't pay me for it. All this stuff. But yeah, and then in Australia, that was worse because, well, it's not a simple border. You've got and see Australia, they've got all kinds of quarantines because because of the climate, things can explode there as far as population goes.
True.
So they're just used to that. And then also it's a palmy country, part of uh, the royal crown, from the UK, right?
Yeah.
So they've got pretty strict rules. And we were sending books in. It was fine. We just would change the name, and then actually they were just Bibles at that time.
Jesus.
And then but that, I mean, we should have known better. Bibles, anyway. But I mean, they're gonna open stuff after a while, and then we started getting redlined. Anything that came from my company was redlined. They put a line on it, and then they open it. Yeah, and then so that was a real problem. So then the next thing is we just started putting them in different size boxes, and then a different return address, um, and that was working. And then they started catching, and then I started getting like registered letters, from the government. And
Crazy.
anyway, once those started arriving, took them about took them about 3 years and a million dollars to catch us. So
It was not cheap or short.
no, I mean, and anyway, we got books in there, but now I'm doing stuff digital because see, I've had a lot of trouble with book distribution and customs. Latin America is really bad for that, and other countries too. Yeah, yeah, and oh man,
Even
so
like nowadays, still it's pretty difficult in some of those places.
oh yeah, sure.
Wow.
Sure. And then the other thing is for printed matter or paper on paper, it's it's so heavy and the distances are so
True.
far.
True.
And there's so much that can happen to it. It can get, hot, cold, it can get wet.
Yeah.
So it's very expensive, so it doesn't make sense. So that's why now I'm totally into this digital world.
Yeah.
Now is the time to make the change.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, with my newest book, We Grow Cannabis. Okay, I've got one now. I've already got it translated into a Spanish. Is Cultivamos Cannabis.
Sweet.
It's like same, and it's like perfect, and I can get it out. See this, okay? This book I've already got in Spanish. It's the same book already laid out, designed, all ready to go. We're going to release it in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
but I can distribute this book all over Latin America really quickly, and all over Spain too, because I'm known really well in the Hispanic world.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, quite well. And
Worldwide, I would say, honestly.
yeah. Well, it's great. I mean, it's like I love this world.
Yeah,
The
it's amazing,
United
honestly. And the
States.
first book I think that I read from you was like this one way back in 2006, man. I think this one you actually have translated since a number of times. So this one that I've got up
Yeah,
on screen one now, this one has
yeah,
helped me a lot. This was almost like my Bible. And before, like you mentioned, you can get all these stuff online. I actually had to, print this entire book. I remember I got someone to give me like a PDF version. I'm not sure whether that's like the best way to go about getting some of these stuff, but that's how I was able to get my hands on it in the Caribbean. And then I had to
yeah.
print it in like my work printer, which was like a ton of pages, but it was worth
Yeah.
it, man. So since then, you guys have actually changed this, and we've got English, we've got French, we've got Spanish, we've got a lot of different languages, even Italian and Russian. When I think of it,
Japanese
so
too.
what was it
Yeah,
like?
that's the pirated Russian video. Yeah.
Sweet. I actually just noticed it. Yeah. So what was it like? What was the motivation or the thinking behind it? Just to get that translated to all these different languages, because most people release a book in just one language, and that would be it.
Well, the thing is, see, uh, I travel a lot in my life and realize that, so often things get real centrical sometimes, like in some places, for example, and they only want to grow hydroponically, and
Yeah.
or they only want to grow organically, but they get kind of like set in their ways and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought, man, I'm over here, uh, and I'd already had a book out in Dutch, because see they that was another publisher. They contacted me, Ward Nord. They were way up north, and like up by Groningen.
Yeah.
It's up there where the potatoes. It rains so much the potatoes float out of the field.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
It rains a lot up there.
That's like flood level water.
Yeah. It's all flat too. But
Wow.
yeah, anyway, they published it, and but I was always interested in foreign editions. Yeah, but the Dutch one was really good, because it really changed things in the Netherlands as far as growing goes. It really did. It made a big difference, because it was at the right time, early on, and
Yeah.
it sold incredibly well. Now a book like that wouldn't sell at all well. They're way too advanced.
Yeah.
But the deal is to be able to really change things in a country. It's it feels really great, man. Because, well, say Latin America and Spain, I've had books out in Spanish for, oh, I can't remember the first one, but for years and years. Cáñamo magazine printed the first one, is Cultivo de Guerrilla. That's right. That's right. It was guerrilla growing, and then later it was Cultivo Interior, the Bible. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And yeah, and then the French. I'm good friends with my publishers up there. Oh yeah, that horticulture book back there, the one you just showed, that was pirated, like the just a little bit higher, I think. Yeah, that one's pirated. Yeah, that's the one. Actually, uh, it was Angels, yeah. Uh,
Hells Angels and the Rock Machine. They were in a
yeah.
turf battle. That sounds crazy, bro.
They pirated it, yeah. That was kind
Wow.
of old times, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's
Um,
so many great books, man. Honestly, I wish I knew all these languages. But the beautiful thing is that no matter what language you speak, you can get some benefits and you can gain some insight through Jorge's books. So that's the beautiful thing of it, man. I actually noticed there's even a Japanese book. So if you're a
yeah,
Japanese, you got no excuse.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's all so different over there in Japan. Yeah, and that one did okay, but they've got so it's really hard to grow a lot and stuff in Japan.
Yeah,
It's a pretty controlled place, you know.
yeah, I can
Um,
imagine that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, and then the next one down, that book, the next one down, the Marijuana or Cultura, that's Italiano. And that one, I remember I had pallets. I had two pallets on the way. It just came in on the way from our, because, it ships into Barcelona in our
Yeah,
warehouse here. And then we ship it to North Italy, to Milano, and like up north. And right then, like when the books were on the road, two pallets on the road, hadn't been paid for yet,
wow,
and they were they just had all these raids at all of the grocery stores in Italy,
shit,
and
wow.
nobody could take them, and so I lost those two pallets. It sucked.
That's mad.
It's like,
That is
yeah,
crazy.
how the heck did I just, I don't know. I kind of wanted to forget that, but I just saw that and remembered at the moment.
And that seems to be like a little bit of a something that you got to overcome. Especially if you were publishing books in that time. It seems that a lot
Yeah.
of the times there's a lot of risk attached to it. You've made losses, in when you had books seized in Australia, in Latin
Mhm.
America, and that's not just the book itself. That loss we're talking about. We're talking about the shipping of the books as well, which you mentioned was super costly. The weight adds up, and to
Yeah.
ship to some of these places is a lot. So it's a lot of losses that you had to stomach, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Everything adds up, and book publishing's
Wow.
not the best business, but
Yeah.
it's the one I chose, and I like it. So I mean, I really can't complain. I've been real fortunate. Most of my friends have gone out of business
Yeah.
in the book business. So yeah, and then I'm doing digital books now too. So and it looks like I'll find a way with it because well, we've got Spanish done, and then one of my partners. Well, I mean, he talks six languages, but native Italian. You got to have somebody native. It's
Yeah.
got to be native for the grammar and everything, because you only
Good
really
point.
learn grammar.
Yeah.
But we've got a Italian version and a German version planned already, and we'll see how the Portuguese one goes as well, because I think Portuguese would be huge.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though in Brazil it's not so legal, but I think we could definitely improve the level of dope those guys have.
Yeah, for
Because,
sure. I agree with that, man. Anywhere where we can improve the quality, I am all for it.
yeah,
1000%.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
100%, man. Now, this is has been a great chat, man, especially just about some of these books, man. You're a great author. I just wanted to switch gears just a little bit to ask you about some of the events that you've been to, man, because you've been to a lot of events, a lot of high times events, even dating back on your YouTube channel. I'm talking 12 years ago and stuff. So tell us a little bit about some of these events that you've been to, man, especially back in Prohibition era. What was some of these events like?
Well, mainly the big events, the ones here in Europe, well, the big one was the Cannabis Cup.
Okay.
And they used to hold that, well, in Amsterdam. And it used to be the only place, it was the only liberal place, the only place you could celebrate cannabis
Yeah.
in public,
Makes
outside of
sense.
a festival, a crazy private festival in America
Yeah.
or other places. And that was at the downtown at the PAX Party House, and also in the Leidseplein at the Milkveg.
Got you.
And yeah, it was a great big venue at the time. But basically, what would happen is their main audience was from America, and the coffee shop owners loved it because their business went, crazy, and they
Yeah.
got all kinds of free publicity, and so did the seed shop guys too. So, but yeah, they really catered to Americans. There was a few Brits that came over, but
Nice.
not so many. It didn't make so much difference because they could just fly over for the weekend, right?
I got you.
And yeah, but so it was really overall an American event, is what I saw.
Interesting.
And people would just get, there was like Eagle Bill. I mean, he was a fixture. Eagle Bill. He was he had this great big, like, kind of like, looked like a crack pipe, but it was
Wow.
like a big round thing like this with a spout on one end, and then, well, it was like a big bong is what it was, and then a spout out here, and then this was the bowl, and the bowl was about this big, and he would, and was everybody would donate cannabis to it, to Bill, and he would get people baked, and he had one of those, not a hair dryer, but it was one of those electric heaters that would fry paint off the wall, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and that was his heat source. And then there was this huge thing, and he would fill this up with smoke. And God, I remember this one guy from a biker from Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I standing right behind, or sitting right behind him, and man, he just cleared me. I remember he stood out, he takes a big hit on this, and then after he just throws his arms up like this, and then boom, passes out. God,
Wow.
oh yeah, his head sounded like a bowling ball when it hit the floor.
Jesus.
Yeah. He looked out for a little while, but he was fine later. Yeah, he was fine. He's a little groggy for a little while.
That's crazy. Wow, man. That's only happened to me once. I was with a homie and he took a few hits on the joint. It wasn't like a bong or anything. And my guy like just fell backwards, head hit the floor and everything, just like you said. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. There was well, basically they would come over and like pretty much go wild because it's like a dog that is in the apartment for 2 weeks and hasn't been out.
Yeah.
They just run crazy. They don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, but a lot of smoking. I was always a judge. I was always a
Sweet.
judge. And I don't particularly care because that's a lot of responsibility. Everybody's oh man, yeah. But you have a lot of friends. I'd always share all my dough. I'd share
Yeah.
it with everybody.
Sharing is caring, you know what they say.
Yeah, getting other opinions.
Yeah.
But they were really pretty good. Steve Hager was in charge of most of those. Well, yeah, I think all of them really
Yeah.
until later. But they were really quite a production. But there was, later politics and stuff involved. But overall, it was really they were all really good because they gave everybody a focus and a sense of community and a kind of like a hierarchy. They needed to be on the map. It's really the only place that was like that. And then
Yeah.
1 year early on, I didn't go to these because see, I was before that. I was hanging out there quite a while before the cannabis cup started,
True.
and they didn't. Yeah. And so I wasn't so interested like when it started up as okay, yeah, because I'd already done a bunch of that stuff, and a lot of it was for people wanted recognition and stuff, and it wasn't so important to me, that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. And I think that, like, just being in the industry for so long, certain things may not appeal to you as much as others, but
Yeah.
having been in the industry for so long, you were able to build like a lot of close ties and relationships with a lot of different people, a lot of great people within the industry. I've seen you link up with a lot of, like, the Ed Rosenthals. I've seen you link up with like Subcool, RIP to Subcool, a true legend, great guy. What was it like, linking up with a lot of different people in the industry and, building this community, this network, and really, sharing the love of the plant? Because that's what it's all about, right? It's all about the love of the plant.
Yeah, it's funny because back then there was a lot of everybody, or not everybody, but quite a few people had gone to Netherlands, and that was, well, I would go there and hang out with Neville
Yeah.
quite a bit, and he was on the other side of the country over, well, it's over about his not so far from Germany, like maybe a kilometer, no, 500 meters actually,
Yeah.
because he was there in was it Lent or Milligan, and then right across the Wall River from Nijmegen,
Okay.
and yeah, and what he did is he bought there was a big old brewery. It was an old brewery by the dike, and
Yeah.
it hadn't nobody had been living there or using it for years. So he bought that. He was really good with business, and so he got it for a good price. And then it was one of the great big old 3-story houses,
Sweet.
and it was a couple hundred years old then. They put electricity and plumbing in afterwards,
Yeah.
you know, one of those places. And anyway, he turned the whole basement, it's 3 stories, turned the whole basement into a growing area. Got a chisel and made tunnels and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it was great hanging out with him. It was quite different because God, he had everything, everything. And
Yeah.
that's where I smoked the haze the first time. And actually, I helped him get several varieties. Some of them did stuff, other ones didn't. Big Bud, that was one I helped him with, and that's done very very well with a lot of stuff. That's a base to a lot of different plants.
Yeah.
There's a couple of G13 or the one I had. It was okay, but nothing special. One of the Afghanis that he had was from me, and that was okay. I never totally followed that one. And what else? There's a couple more. I just don't remember right now. And then yeah, and then other guys. There'd be guys like uh, well, Dave Watson,
Yeah.
his name, he had a different name back then. And then because people changed their names. And
All
then
good.
and then who else? Who else? Oh, Renard Brony. He started Lowland Seeds, right?
Wow.
He
Yeah.
also started Mellow Yellow, the first coffee shop, or well, it's credited as being the first coffee shop. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope. Dope, man. So it's really like some esteemed company as well, man. And I think that by aligning yourself with like-minded people, you're able to achieve a common goal. And the common goal, I think, is really, breaking that stigma and, just getting more people to understand the medicinal benefits of the plant and not demonize it as much as it was, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, basically, I mean, back then, I mean, everybody was kind of like getting away with something.
Yeah.
Never steal. Well, no, and two, there was what was I mean, everybody had a different trip.
Yeah.
The main thing was Neville's was breeding. His was like totally breeding. He'd learned about breeding, and is a real smart, very very smart, and he knew very good with the breeding. And
Yeah.
same with Dave back then. He was totally into breeding. That was where he could do what he wanted, and it wasn't so much medicine back then because we really didn't understand that part. And
Yeah.
then Winard, he's a Dutch guy, right? Dave came over from America. Neville was from Oz or Australia, and they'd had both those guys. Everybody had legal problems. That's why they're there.
Hmm.
And so anyway, and then Renard, he was his deal was to make sure everybody had enough cannabis. That was really important to him, make sure everybody. So he
Most
started the
important job
seed.
there is.
Yeah, and but he started selling seeds before anybody, like really selling them in earnest. And then, God, I'd have to think back, but those are the main guys I really remember. Um, yeah, yeah, real. And then other people too. Then there was Keys. Well, that was his name then. Actually, it's oh, what I keep thinking of him as Keys. I don't have him as Carol.
Yeah.
Carol, yeah, another Dutch guy. He started Super Sativa Seed Club. Yeah, see, they started collecting quite a bit of genetics too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, and they're resurrected now. Yeah, Carol, yeah, yeah, yeah. See, all the
Wow.
everybody had to go underground for a long time. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I didn't see him for like 20 years.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. He shaved his head. I mean,
You got to change those appearances.
no, it's just yeah, all this stuff, you don't think about it, and then you look back. I mean, I've been writing things down more and more. I didn't even realize that I'd written or published 50 different books. And yeah, and I
Wow.
thought it was only 35, and then I started writing things down, and it's a heck of a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, man. I'm just so like in awe almost, just because of the passion and the love for the plant that comes out. And I think the fact that you kept pushing in the face of adversity, the fact that you're here now and just here to tell us all about it, it's truly inspiring to a lot of people, man. So just before we actually close off, just tell us a little bit about that inner motivation, that inner drive to keep going in the face of adversity, even when it was difficult, when the chips looked down to the friggin' floor. You pulled it out. You pulled that out, and you look. You're here with us now, man. You got a fantastic book, PDF versions in 2023. It's all online, and it's testament to you and the fact that you just kept going.
Well, dude, I quit a few times. Let me tell you, it's been fucking hard.
Wow. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
imagine that.
dude, I've been really down. It's been hard to come back. And then other times I just don't know what else to do. I have to go with what feels good for me.
Yeah.
And when started all of this, I didn't think to be in this position now, to have influenced so many people. It just was the right thing to do. That was it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think everybody else should like do whatever is right for them,
Yeah.
and then you feel better about yourself. That's what I think.
Yeah. I love that.
It's worked so far. It hasn't always been so easy, but so what?
Yeah.
Uh, I've been entertained.
And you know what they say, nothing in life that's worth having comes easy. You gotta like fight for it and fight for what you believe in, man. And this is clearly what you believed in. And I think that that's super inspirational for a lot of people that are tuned in right now, man. So guys, smash the friggin' like button for that. And Jorge, just before we actually close off, I just wanted to go through the Know Your Bud segment, which is pretty much a segment that I like to call the Know Your Bud segment, because everyone that comes onto the show is my bud. And I just like to find out what you do with your buds, because everyone does different things with their buds. So all I'm going to do is throw out a couple options for you. All you got to do is tell me which one is your preference and why. Simple stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a little off the cuff, but we got Jorge on the Know Your Bud segment, and I'm super stoked, man. Okay, so let's get it started. First things first, when it comes to germination, paper towel method, glass of water method, or straight into the soil? What's your preference?
Oh, glass of water, paper towel.
I like that, man. And we got options. I like that, man. And next up, feminized or regs? What's your preference?
Uh, Both. I love them both.
We don't discriminate over here, guys.
No, no, okay. It's okay. I don't have prejudice that way. I'm okay with it.
I love it, man. I love it. Okay, hydro or soil?
Soil, definitely, 100%.
Oh, nice, man. That was a quick one. Soil, 100%. Okay, next up is photoperiods or autoflowers? Controversial.
Both of them. I like both of them. I'm just amazed with these autoflowers. I was poo-pooing them at first. Now I don't at all because, I mean, they've got just a couple of genes that affect the autoflower part. And theoretically, you can just take those couple of genes and put them in or breed them into any other plant, and the other plant will flower the same. It's just the
Interesting.
first
Yeah.
part of the life that changes. So
Interesting.
I'm fascinated with both of them, with
Yeah.
both of them,
And that's
definitely.
absolutely fine. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, and we don't discriminate over here. So next up, though, synthetic or organics?
Organic, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
like that, man. You sound like you got similar likes to me. I like that. But the
yeah.
next question is super controversial: wet trim or dry trim?
Oh, I always like the wet trim. And
Ooh,
yeah, and people talk so much about the dry trim. There's reasons for both,
yeah,
actually, is what I think. Because one of the things people get so uh, set on one thing, and then if that's the only thing they see, it's like the horse with blinders. They
yeah.
can't see what the train that's coming on the side. You know, um, yeah. So I think both of them have a place, actually.
Yeah,
I
I think I
usually
agree with that.
make the wet trim because it dries a bit faster.
Yeah, for sure. And usually, if you're like in a super humid environment or if a super dry climate, it one may work out better for you than the
Oh
other.
yeah, oh yeah, and then if you're using machinery too,
Yeah,
machinery makes a big difference.
great point.
Yeah, yeah, and some works well. Yeah, it just depends on variables, and
Yeah,
I think you should leave your mind open to both.
I
I
like
know
that.
which one I prefer, and yeah,
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong way to do things. So once you get it to your liking, it works, man. And I think that that's pretty similar with the next question: bong or joint? How do you like to get your stuff?
oh man, I love rolling joints. I love it. Yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, I've got I love rolling joints.
Me too, man. I love it. But I do hit bongs. I got like my daily driver. But when I'm really looking to relax after like a nice meal or something, I'm gonna roll me a joint, a nice one, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
burn it down, and I'm gonna really feel good about it.
Well, the problem is, I mean, this. I mean, in the tropics, this guy, you have stone floors. I mean, in Europe, we have stone floors. I break all of the glass
Yeah,
bongs I own.
all the
They
time,
always
all the
break.
time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, now last one though is edibles or vapes.
Oh boy, they're both really good. I prefer edibles over vapes if I had to make a decision. Yeah.
Got you. A lot of people lean that way, but some people actually say with edibles, they either feel absolutely nothing or they feel nothing and they're out. So,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
how do the edibles affect you? Do you like take it before you
Oh,
go to sleep?
well, it depends. They just haven't they haven't taken them properly and they haven't assimilated properly. Gosh, yeah. I mean, usually they take quite a while to come on, longer than unless you're super sensitive. But for me, I don't notice for a couple of hours,
Yeah,
and then once they do, they're much longer lasting because the way they enter your body.
for
Uh,
sure.
but yeah, yeah, they're very quite strong, quite strong.
I like
Um, oh yeah, 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 yeah. You've got to measure them. Yeah.
Microdose.
I don't know. You don't get enough that way.
Yeah, that one is maybe not the right answer. One is too little, one is too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I love that, man. Well, that was the last question on the Know Your Bud segment. It's really just a segment to help everyone get to know you, as a toker, as a grower, just get to know you a little bit better, man. So thank you so much for that. We had a great Know Your Bud segment, and I think we've touched on a lot of different things on this episode, man. From growing in the gray market, prohibition land, some of the difficulties, some of your fantastic books. We've touched on a lot of different things, man. And guys, definitely check out Jorge's book. You can get it. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. You can claim your free copy, and definitely check it out. It's got a lot of information on there. It's all electrically done. It's an electric copy. It's a PDF version, so you don't have to print it or get it shipped to you. Definitely have a look at it, man. But Jorge, before we actually close off, for everyone that wants to get in touch with you or maybe find out what more you've got going on, where can they do that?
There's two different places. Jorge-Cervantes.com
Okay.
and pardon, excuse me.
No
Could you
problem.
put that in the description?
Yep,
This,
most definitely. I'm gonna put that in the description for sure.
and then yeah, that's this page right here, and then the other one is marijuanagrowing.com, and that is marijuana with a J.
Got you.
Uh, yeah, and both pages. This page is more about me. It's got blogs, books, all kinds of stuff. And the marijuanagrowing.com, that used to be my forum, but now we're putting other stuff on it. I've got two new guys, or well, two new guys. I mean, I've known these guys for like the last 25 years. But Technico and Marcelo, and then also Stefan Meyer. And these guys are young and they're doing all of this web stuff for me, and things are growing actually pretty incredibly fast. I'm
Hell yeah.
amazed. I've got a ton of stuff ready that I'm doing too. There's this Stefan.
Yeah. I saw both of them actually on the lives that you guys have got.
Oh,
So
and this,
here's Gary, right?
yeah, and that's Gary, doctor.
And
He's
that's
got
you.
a doctor's degree in microbiology, and
Yeah.
the guy's a steel trap for his mind's a steel trap for science. You know, I
Wow.
mean, this is quite good. His chemistry knowledge is like outstanding. And genetic knowledge is it. Well, he's got a minor in that. You know, the genetic stuff.
That is
Yeah,
great. That is great. Well, I'm super happy to hear that you've got such a great team behind you. And looking at a couple of your past lives, even the ones from a few weeks ago and stuff like that, I can see that you guys got a really great rapport, and they're really all helping you guys to pull in the same direction, man. So props to you guys on that. Much respect, for sure, guys. I will definitely put links to all Jorge's stuff down in the description of the video. Definitely check that out. Jorge, I think I've really touched on everything, and I've had a fantastic time kicking with you, man. And just on behalf of everyone that's tuned in right now, the thousands that'll watch it afterward, man, just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, just for coming on, sharing
yeah.
some of these experiences and inspiring so many people, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries, man. I am so happy to help. I mean, this it really does feel great, and um, I'm just happy to be here and happy to continue to help. And I want to build a nice big community of growers, like-minded people all around the world. So
Yeah.
please come to my site, and I'm going to keep doing. Well, I'm going to surprise you guys. I've got a ton of stuff on the way.
Surprises, surprises, surprises. I love surprises, guys, most definitely. So if you're as excited as I am for that, definitely sign up to everything. Follow him on YouTube. He's got a banging YouTube page with a lot of videos. Check out the website as well. I'll put links to those as well. Just check it all out, and also follow him on Instagram, man. We've got a lot of great stuff going out there, and we're just super happy to be able to share some of those inspirational experiences that you've had with some of our viewers, man. So thank you so much, Jorge. I really do appreciate that. Guys, most importantly, smash the like button. Don't forget to hit that bell. And don't forget as well, you guys got to stay high and stay fly. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace, fam.